Hello and welcome to One Resource Floating, the show where we talk about flesh and blood. And I don't know, I was going to make a joke. But joining me, the 86, is Ben, and
Yo,
we have Kayla. And we unfortunately were unable to book the voice this week, but we do have Wilson from Home Improvement. He's right behind. Yep, you can't see his face as normal. Today, we are going to be talking about cat soup. Katsu,
Cat
the
soup.
Now,
close enough.
also slash slash.
also slash. Katsu the ninja. He has a young and an old form. We can throw him up here on screen, but that's a really exciting point. And I think that most people will agree that he's a character that um, can you go tall with him? Yeah, but kinda. But really, he's meant to go wide in the sense that he's going to have a lot of little attacks coming your
Yeah.
way. So, what do you guys think? Tell me about Katsu.
First
Well,
off, I like how you say katsu.
yeah, I'm pretty sure it is pronounced Katsu,
Okay, you
but
know
cat.
what? I'll restart it because I
No,
threw a lot
you
up
don't
there.
have to restart it. It's a Leviathan. Like, let me
Okay.
a thing.
Yeah.
All right.
It's legitimate. It's not a problem.
It's
It's just
whatever.
All
different
right.
pronunciation. I just like it because it sounds like cat soup.
Anyway,
Uh, Katsu is the third of the four starting Welcome to Wraith heroes. Standard array, 4 intellect, 40 health as adult, 4 intellect, 20 health during blitz or young matches in UPF. And he has a pretty powerful hero ability once you learn how to manage and manipulate it. Ben, do you want to cover that?
Yeah, essentially what his ability allows you to do is he has a what's the keyword called combo in his cards, which these combo cards, well, combo off each other. So, for example, let's say Surging Strike. If you play that in his attack and it has go again, there's a card called Whelming Gust Wave which says combo. If the last card you played was Surging Strike, then you get a lot of on hit effects and it can snowball from there. But what Katsu's ability allows him to do is you can off the first attack action card you hit, you're able to discard a card that's zero cost and search for any attack action card with combo in your deck and play that or banish it, and then you can play that on that chain. So you can really search for the combo pieces you need at any given time. So he's essentially a tutor effect in a hero, which is scary.
Right. If you've got any Magic the Gathering players, I'm sure you
Yeah.
all know you have tutors. Good decks run them. Great decks run a lot of them. Katsu literally gets to tutor every turn or has the possibility
The threat.
to consider tutoring
Mhm.
every turn.
so could someone tell me what a tutor is?
Uh, Tutor is kind of like Malefor, where cards in Magic the Gathering had often a casting name of something tutor and allowed you to go and search whatever your library was and get the exact thing you needed and put it into your hand, put it on top of the library, put it right into play. So the concept of tutoring is basically saying, what's in my hand isn't quite right, I need to fix it. And that level of control and hand manipulation in a game of such narrow margins like Flesh and Blood is just, it's very enticing and it is very powerful with the right pilot behind it.
Yeah, it's just kind of become a keyword to just card players more than actual card games. That tutor is just synonymous with search your deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would absolutely say that's
Yeah.
fair.
That's just the layman's terms. You could go
The
easy with.
lingo.
What I think is really neat about Katsu, however you want to say it, um, there's a lot of. He's a pretty basic hero. He doesn't do anything special, but I think that it's important with him to know a little bit about the chain link. Just because he has some great equipment and some of his attacks get buffed with what number they are on the chain link. So I don't know, Wilson or Kayla, maybe you guys have some insight on how the chain link works.
So when you start your action phase, the main course of action is you are starting a series of attacks that go in a
Successive order.
Successive
Or
order.
sequential.
Sequential order was the bad one. Sequential order that you are playing your thing. So basically you're making a chain of attacks, and that's why it's called the combat chain. But if you start with an action card that goes into an attack, that is a chain link. It is just one little link on the chain that you're constantly growing. If you keep attacking, the chain stays open. If you do an action attack and then a different action, you break your prior link and start a new one. And so this is just now the new little area that you're working with in your combat chain. Or if you're Katsu, he is more of possibly an action, but attack, possibly look for something, banish it, attack, maybe attack reaction on top of it. But it's basically just your line of play of how you need to string things together. Because with combo, a lot of your cards are going to request that something come before it to get the added benefits. And there's so many different ways you can play it. You can do head jab line of things or leg tap line of things. I mean, it's actually like ninjas. Like when you think of Bruce Lee and like Jackie Chan, like they used different types of combat. Don't laugh at me, Ben.
Go on. You're
but
right.
with ninjas, like there's different ways that you can combat people. You can do leg tap into rising knee thrust, into pounding gale, or blackout kick. Thank you. Hurricane technique. That was the one I was picturing in my head. Or you could do head jab into open the center, into pounding gale, or fluster fist. Like there's just branches because ninjas can do a lot of quick things at once. That's what they do. And Katsu kind of builds on that sort of attack combo. Or you go the funny way of Katsu, which is death by 1,000 cuts, and he just swings at you every turn with 2 weapons that only attack for 1, but after a while, 1 becomes a lethal number.
So I think that is really good to note. All of what you guys have said is good. When I'm going through and building a chain, if I break the chain, so typically when I do an attack and there's a defense and that kind of keeps going, those stay out there. Those don't immediately go to the discard pile or the graveyard or anything else. Those stay right at the edge of my mat because I just attack with them. Mm-hmm. So once I break the chain, do those go immediately to my discard pile or do they stay out there?
If you break the chain for any reason, whether it's by choice, because you can always break the chain at any point. You don't have to keep it open necessarily. But some people play as in keeping the chain always open. Some people will play a card and basically dismantle the beginning components to that chain. But if someone were to, say, block with an equipment like tectonic plating, which can block twice, if you break the chain, that chest equipment goes back to its slot. So if you attack again, you're giving your opponent the chance to defend again with the same equipment. So keeping the chain open also limits them on blocking with key equipment components. Because I know there's a hero that we'll touch later who's a mechanologist, and she constantly will break the chain by doing actions and attacks. And against certain heroes, that actually can be detrimental because they can just use a certain item to keep blocking them, and you're getting less damage through that way.
Good. So excellent conversations all in the chain, and that probably isn't very relevant to Katsu, but it kind of is. So let's talk about the start. I'm building this deck, this ninja. How am I going to do it? Reds, yellows, blues, what am I putting in here?
One of the most important things for most Katsu decks is going to be really identifying which combo chains you like, you see as valuable before you touch anything else. Obviously, you're going to look at equipment and other things like that. We'll talk more on that later, but the specific combo chains that you find fun or aggressive or oppressive to play, you build into those. It's never prudent to try and do everything all at once. I can speak from experience by having 3 or 4 of the different chain combos in my deck. It's not viable. You really want to stick to 2 and maybe dribble a few key cards in. With Katsu in particular, there is one chain that you cannot ignore.
Yep.
And that is Surging Strike into Whelming Gustwave, into Mugeshi Release, his first specialization from Welcome to Wraith, and then finishing with Lord of Wind, his other specialization in Welcome to Wraith. That chain is exclusive to Katsu because of those 2 specializations at the end, and also massively powerful on those times that you do get to pull off the entire chain and get the effects from those on-hit triggers. Personally, I like to run the Crucible of War, Torrent of Tempo, Rushing River, primarily because of some of the things that came out with Everfest that make that even more damaging if my opponents allow certain things to happen because of new cards that came out in Everfest. Previously, I was a big fan of the Soulbead Strike Crane Dance, which was also Crucible of War. But at the end of the day, you're going to have a lot of cards that pitch for blue, that cost 0, that allow your primary weapon to attack for go again, and really force your opponent to hopefully make mistakes on defense.
I was going to say, like, the blue zeros are, like I say, are the most important thing I can think of to at least keep a consistent deck, but I don't know what, to your feeling, what's the best ratio from that kind of thing to more powerful reds?
You don't need to run a heavy amount of blues. You can get away with some yellows, and even a lot of your key pieces need to be red. So I'd say 30 to 40% blue. Ideally, a lot of them that pitch at 0 cost.
Mm-hmm.
But in my deck, I currently have, of the 60 card main board, 20 of them are 0 cost blue and yellows. Predominantly blue, but I want to say it's about 14 0 cost blues and 6 0 cost yellows. There are some 0 cost reds. Sometimes that matters. There's a few key pieces that can allow 0 cost reds to actually fuel an incredibly efficient turn because of, again, another item from Everfest, Talisman of Recompense. But in general, I don't run 50% blues or anything like that. I might run 35, 40% blues, and then mostly red for the remainders and only the yellows that I need to run. A lot of the cards that really push Katsu over into those hit effects are red, and that leaves him with pretty slim margins on pitch resource.
See, I think there are different ways to go into play Ninja as well. I would rather play 70 to 80% blues that have 0 cost, and I would rather send, like, I want to send it at a minimum 6 attacks your way each turn. And even if those attacks are all each 1 or 2, then that's just something like, do I really want to block 1? Well, I don't want that to go through. So,
That actually is an interesting build idea where you can get your opponent to overblock where maybe they shouldn't.
Right. And that does get into psychology a lot with this game of, like, if I've got 3 cards in hand and I've already threatened 2 1-damage attacks, have a resource floating, like, what could I have left if that's all I've done so far? Like, that can be a little intimidating to be like, oh no, they've got a lot of fuel left in this turn. Should I start blocking? And that's where Katsu, managing those on-hit effects of, like, when do I need to hit and when am I okay letting them overblock, can get, take a average casual player to that next level of, like, they are now being very disruptive to any other hero's strategy. That's the death by 1,000 cuts method, by the way, the 86. Like, that is the Kodachi for 1, Kodachi for 1, head jab for 2.
Arsenal pass.
Pass turn, exactly, yeah.
Usually a defense reaction that you can just use to soak up some damage. Because some ninjas originally during heavy aggro matchups would dump 3 cards out of hand and probably a defense reaction out of arsenal, leave 1 blue or yellow cost 0 pitch in their hand, and just Kodachi. Because if you think you're on the other side of that Katsu player, you're like, man, I'm really putting on the pressure. Like, I've got this. Like, yeah, I'll take 1. Yeah, I'll take 1. Well, eventually you're going to be down to 2 health. And now taking 1 could be detrimental.
Do they have that attack reaction that applies to their Kodachi that you need to overblock for? But if I overblock, then I know the second Kodachi's coming.
Yep.
And that's a new source of damage. And again, you just run into this scenario as the defender against Ninja of like, I have to make a decision as the defender, and I'm not going to know if it's the right one until they finish their turn.
Yeah. And we even talked about blocking like on-hit triggers, because Ninja has so many different on-hit triggers.
I think this is where that combat chain talk comes in, and I think that it's really important to know that for the Katsu matchup or any ninja matchup. Just like knowing like, so part of the Ram's Head. Let's throw that out. It's a Guardian Shield. We talked about that before. So they block for 1. If that combat chain is broken, they could block in. If I keep throwing 1 damage attacks their way, if I keep breaking the chain, none of my attacks are going to do anything. So I need to remember all my triggers at the start. Like, are there any like of my actions or cards or anything that I need to pay for? Like any of my equipment that I need to get out in no matter what character you are. And just going in like, okay, this is how I'm going to sequence this turn. Like, make your plan before you start playing cards.
Very much so. And because Katsu has that tutor ability, you do get the ability to say, ooh, I have parts 1 and 3 in this combo chain, but not part 2. What else is in my hand? Oh, cool, I have a spare 0 cost card. Well, to me, that means I just need to hit with that attack action to give me the chance to go get that piece too. So once you see that, you start thinking, okay, how do I disguise my important on-hit trigger, or how do I make it very unpleasant for them so that way they might not be appealing to block. And that is very hard, and you really do need to like kind of gauge your opponent. There's no every turn or every matchup you're going to know exactly how to play that. Katsu does give you a little bit of a boost in that, where you just need a hit. Oftentimes, you don't have to have everything hit.
So, going into this, we know there are a couple of different lines. The combo ability, it's really important to know about that. There has to be the action points to play that. It's not like, oh, they're going to combo. So, going in to realize like, okay, I have these combo pieces, but I don't have go again to make this work. Well, this just got a little hard for you. So figuring out ways to give everything go again is really important, unless your combo has go again inherently with it.
Yeah. It's kind of like the Dorinthia on hit trigger. You can attack again, but you have to give the sword go again to use that effect. Combo is essentially the same way. It's like, yeah, your card will get stronger if head jab is before open the center. But for whatever reason, let's say head jab didn't have natural go again, which it does. You would have to find a way to give that go again so open the center can become the big powerhouse hit that it is. Which, with Ninja, there are multiple ways to do that. Thankfully, you don't have to. Head jab has go again.
Yeah, it is important to note that all of the internal workings of a single combo chain feed into an ultimate finisher, if you will. The finisher never has go again, with one exception, and that's Flood of Force. And that is, its own effect can give itself go again if it is comboed into, but otherwise, Lord of Winds, Pounding Gale, Fluster Fist, Blackout Kick, and I believe even Hurricane Technique do not have go again. Zen State and Heron's Flight from Crucible War do not have go again. So your finishers don't. But your internal pieces, your Surging Strikes into Whelming Gust Wave, your Head Jab into Open Center, if you're comboing them, they will give each other go again through the combo setup. But say you don't have a head jab and you're trying to start that open the center combo, you could play open the center to begin with, but it won't combo off of anything, so you need to find a way to give it go again. And that's where you can start looking at equipments, trap cards, previous turn actions to maybe create quicken tokens or other things like that.
Attack reactions that give certain cards of a cost go again.
So there are some include cards for any ninja, and that's Ancestral Empowerment. It needs to go in every ninja deck, as many as you're legally allowed to play. It is a 0 cost attack reaction. Gives your target ninja attack action. Cannot be used on the weapon, and it cannot be used on generic attacks like Command and Conquer or Nourishing Emptiness or any other generics you might run. It has to be a ninja attack, but it gives it +1, and then you get a free draw card during the reaction phase, which can be incredibly painful, right, Ben?
Yes, that's correct.
Someone who has been on the receiving end
Shade.
It's so scary at all times.
Into a Razor Reflex, which is another reaction that almost every ninja should run. Because of the low cost of most ninja attacks, that Razor Reflex is normally exclusively useful for 1 and 0 cost attacks. Well, as a ninja, that's most of my deck. 0 or 1, with a few exceptions, but most of those few exceptions are either finishers or natively have go again.
Yeah. Plus, Razor Reflex also just adds on to sword or dagger attacks, which you have 2 swords. Congratulations.
That could be how you finish off that person with Death of a Thousand Cuts.
I was like, the sneaky little game ender right there.
And they decide to block with Rampart or the Ram's Head with 2 health, and you're like, okay, Razor Reflex, this is now a 4 damage attack. Do you have any reactions? No, well, I just won the game.
So going into that, you mentioned auto includes. Did you mention Flick Flack?
Flick Flack is an auto sideboard.
Yeah.
You do the sideboard. I think that's really. Yeah, I guess you could see you want someone who's going to attack again.
Yes, like if I'm going to hold them, or even Bravo, even the new Bravo star of the show. Yes, his ability gives his attack go again. I would still rather have a big stompy defense reaction like Unmovable against somebody like that than Flick Flack, which is a reaction, and that's its real drawback. Is I don't get to play Flick Flack and then another card on that same attack. I have to play a card, pass to the reaction phase, play Flick Flack, and then find a way to get another card with combo into the defense portion of my turn, which typically means there has to be a second attack.
Against go wide people, like the easiest ones to name are Rune Blades.
Or other ninjas.
Or other ninjas, where it's if it's the first attack and you use Flick Flack, then you know a second attack is going to come. That makes your second defense stronger. But if it's someone who is dumping their whole hand to do one attack of 14, defending and then using Flick Flack isn't necessarily useful anymore because you don't have the setup for a later attack. It's all happening now. There's no need to. So, like he said, you can't really guarantee that Flick Flack will be useful. The better version, I think, is Springboard Somersault, which is just, it gives itself a +2 defense buff if it's played from Arsenal, which is probably the better reaction for ninjas because they typically want to Arsenal defense reactions on their turn.
Defense reactions or attack reactions.
Or,
they live in ninja Arsenal.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So with that, any other... So one thing I like to include in a lot of go wide decks, and it's something that a lot of people don't play, but it's push the point. So if the last... Now I need to pull the text up here so we can specifically read it.
Hit.
Yep, if the last attack on this combat chain hit, push the point gains +2.
Yep.
So the red one, if I had something to hit for 1 damage, well, now I'm throwing out a 6 damage attack for 1.
Which that is a pretty good include for the death by 1,000 cuts style Katsu, where they're probably defending, expecting Kodachi for 1, Kodachi for 1. Meanwhile, you pitched a yellow 0 cost. You're going to go Kodachi for 1, push the point for 6.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's really it's best for your Kodachis or a head jab for 1, because if it's a head jab for 1, they're thinking, I'll save my defense for the next one. Yeah. I don't want to open to the center to hit, and plus I have something better useful for something. It's more of, because most cards block 2 to 3, using a block 3 on a 1 attack, you're essentially thinking, I'm wasting 2 defense on something that I could use later to block 3 for 3. That is what it boils down to. So most people aren't going to use a defense 3 to block 1 because it's a wasted defense. You can't add that 2 to the next one. It's gone. So if someone comes in with a head jab for 1, they're going to say, I'll save my sink below for the open the center turn that's about to happen. But if it's push the point, it's now much different in what they thought was going to happen.
Right. And that's what makes Ninja difficult to play against, because as the defender, I don't know what type of Ninja I'm going to get.
Yeah.
That's right. It's a lot of variety.
Yeah.
And a super effective strategy as playing Ninja is to deliberately play in the first few turns off tempo. So if your main mechanism is those cards with combo and you're trying to build these chains and get those on-hit triggers like crazy, maybe the first 3 or 4 turns you play that block out Kodachi style, and then they kind of your opponent kind of settles into that. Okay, cool. Kodachi for 1, maybe something small afterwards, and then you shift gears and you're starting to throw out like head jab, open the center, razor reflex to open the center to make sure it hits, and then they're like, whoa, this is a totally different Ninja, and I arsenaled the wrong card, and you can really start to trip up your opponents just by shifting gears. And I think Katsu is one of the best heroes to allow that mid-match flexibility. We're not talking like changing your sideboard between matches. Like within one match, you can play him 2 different ways without changing a thing from your deck list.
Turns 1 through 3 are going to be wildly different than 4 through 6.
Yes.
You can go down so many lines, and every single one of them is scary.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't matter what you're looking at. If you're sitting across from a Ninja, you know that the more cards they put on the combat chain, the worse it's going to be for me. And if you allow a Ninja to draw a single card, they should count that turn as a win.
Yeah.
And we've already mentioned a few ways that they can just guarantee drawing cards, whether it's Ancestral Empowerment, which costs nothing and they get a free draw, or they attack reaction Whelming Gust Wave, that Surging Strike for 2 resources coming in for 5 on a red. And then you're like, ooh, I mean, you really don't want to eat 5 damage, so you're like, okay, well, I'll block 3. Okay, well, now you're down to 3 cards in hand, maybe defense reaction to Arsenal if you're lucky. And then red Whelming Gust Wave coming in for 4. Go again. If this hits, draw a card. So to do that would have been 3 resources right there. That's just a pitch blue. I've used 3 cards for mana. I still have a 4th. Do I have an energy potion? Is my tunic ready? I'm threatening a lot of stuff every turn. And ninjas are great at managing tempo, and just choosing which version that you're going to get each turn is just as important as what cards are in your hand.
Quick here, equipment. What do you guys think is the best head equipment for Ninja?
Mask of Momentum.
The first time ever, it's not Skullcap.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking like Skullcap. No.
Without a doubt.
Finally, it's not.
Yep.
So Mask of Momentum reinforces that chain link conversation. If the attack is the third in a row to hit, then you get to draw a card. But it has to be in a row. It has to hit. It can't be 1, 2, and then they blocked out 3, or they blocked out 2, and then 3 and 4 hit. It has to be 1, 2, 3, or 2, 3, 4, etc. So 3 have to hit together.
Yeah. And if you're thinking like commoner wise, Hope of Merchant's Hood's probably your best bet, because that's not really a tutor, but you're going to try and change your odds. If you have a card in your hand like, this is what I need, roll the roulette table, put it back in the deck, shuffle it up, hopefully draw something better. So I'd say that's a good common.
It's always a good commoner option.
Yeah.
The new Mask of the Pouncing Link, it is a Majestic, but it is much easier to get your hands on than Momentum. Mask of the Pouncing Links is an on-hit effect again, but once, no discarding, no craziness, just go get a card.
Yeah.
Put it in your hand.
It's a tutor.
It has a restriction of the base damage on the card, but again, most ninja attacks are small, so you can usually get whatever you need.
Yeah. It's like a one-time use Katsu ability.
Yeah.
Basically.
It's really good for I think it's really good for a hero that is a ninja that is not mentioned in this video.
Or in
100%.
Or in Blitz.
Or in Blitz, it's true.
Another thing we'll talk about, since we talked about the head equipment, we talked about some commoner stuff. Let's talk about the chest. What do you guys think is the best chest equipment for a ninja?
I think there's 2 options here, and it's
Hardened cross trap
and Tangle Spring Tunic.
Yeah.
Yep, those are 2 exactly ones I was thinking of.
Which ninja do you want to play? Do you want to play the explosive turn combo line ninja? Hardened cross trap. Or do you want to do the Death by Thousand Cut, which is Tunic, hands down?
Because that Tunic can later become a free Razor Reflex for your swords.
Oh, yeah.
The most
thing. Yeah, every 3 turns you could have a Razor Reflex for free. But
it's a lot of value over time.
I mean, just that resource floating for a ninja. If you come in like, oh, I just have a card in Arsenal. Oh, but I have a Tunic that's ready to pop. Well, what do I want to do about that?
Hardened cross trap just guarantees that one turn where you have like the best hand of surging into whelming into Mageshi into Lord of Wind, you get your first attack free because it reduces the cost by 2, so that's a free attack.
Yeah, you can do the Kodachi, free surging, free whelming because it's free.
Yep.
Mugeshi with that remaining floating resource from the 1 blue card you pitched. And then you have all these options for on-hit triggers, Lord of Wind, all this craziness can happen. A lot of cards flying across the table in those turns with Hardened cross trap.
What about arms? Any good arms you guys think of?
Kind of the weakest thing for Katsu.
Yeah.
Breaking Scales is definitely the front runner. It blocks for 1 with Battle Worn. It is an attack reaction, which is huge for people like ninjas who need on-hit effects. Because they can't throw more cards down from hand unless it's a defense reaction.
It's the ancestral empowerment of the arms.
Yep.
Because it's a +1, but if you come in for an attack of 3 and they block 3, you can just go, I'm going to break Breaking Scales and give that a +1. Now I get all this stuff.
Right, like, oh, I did Kodachi, I did Surging, they both hit, I'm going to do Whelming, it's coming in for 3 with Go Again on hit, it has a trigger. They block 3, it's an exactly 3. Cool, I'm going to break Breaking Scales. Now it's a 4. Do you have a defense reaction? No. I'm going to draw off Mask. I'm going to draw off Whelming. You give me 2 cards, and you're in very bad shape now.
It's important to note it is a card with combo to react to, if I remember correctly.
And provided to Surging Strike, Head Jab, a generic attack action.
But you typically won't use it on those anyway. You want to use it for... It's basically more of just the Whelming Gust Wave trigger of, oh, they're blocking exactly what they need to. It's just a little +1.
Whelming, Mugeshi, those are the main 2 that you're going to use it on. You might say you could use it on, like, Rushing River, but
yeah.
All right, best legs.
Yeah.
Snapdragon or Breeze
Riders
boots. And as much as I love Breeze Rider boots, they block for 1 with Battle Worn again. It requires an on hit before you can activate them. And sometimes you need it to be go again on an attack that hasn't hit yet or isn't a ninja attack. We didn't. So there's one card that we didn't mention. Its attack as a generic from Monarch, the Majestic attack action Exude Confidence. It costs 0, fits well with ninja. The big thing about it is if your opponent chooses to not defend it with something stronger than its base attack, which is 4, and can be buffed for 3 resources. The entire rest of that combat chain, not individual link, but chain, they cannot use defense reactions. And because the effect on Exude Confidence is an instant, you can allow them to block it with like a Sink Below or a stronger attack that shuts it down. I'm sorry, not Sink Below, but something that has more power than it, like a Guardian card. And then later, pay the 3 to make it stronger, so that it's like, actually, you can't play defense reactions against my Whelming Gust Wave, so it's going to hit, I'm going to draw. And in that case, Breeze Rider Boots helps you not. You can't give Exude Confidence go again with Breeze Rider Boots, but Snapdragons, yes, you can.
It's kind of just, do you sacrifice blocking 1 for a somewhat easier ability to use, is what it boils down to.
Yeah. Snapdragons is super versatile in Ninja because most of your attacks are 1 or 0, which is the only requirement for it. Both Breeze Rider and Snapdragons are one-off uses. It's not like you can get multiple value out of one and not the other. And yeah, the only thing you're sacrificing with Snaps is block 1 Battleborn.
So going in with this, if I'm facing a Katsu player, any advice for me there?
Rule of thumb is block second Kadachi.
Block second Kadachi. Well, basically, block the second attack.
Yes.
You're trying to avoid the Mask of Momentum trigger, and if you block the second strike in that link chain of 3, you've interrupted them pretty well.
Yeah. And if they come in with a third, block the 4th.
Right.
Or the 5th. How does the math work?
Blocking.
What if they don't have mask? I mean,
So
welcome
if
to
they
Wrath
don't have-
Print, right?
Then,
You
Just worry about the on-hit triggers, I suppose, and what's going to hurt you the most.
Yeah, just, you basically choose which on-hit trigger can you afford.
Right. Can I afford to let them tutor a card?
Yeah. Can I afford to let them draw a card?
No. Never.
No. Don't ever let
The answer to
anyone
that
draw
question
a
is
card.
no.
Yeah, don't let anyone draw a card.
Allowing your attacking opponent to draw cards mid-attack is never prudent.
No.
We will miss you. Ninjas especially.
By Plundero. Actually, Legal and Blitz.
Legal and Blitz and UPF, and boy howdy are my running them both.
All right. Do I want to go first or second against Katsu? Or is it just dependent on what I'm going to play? Will I even know?
If you're going against a Mask Katsu, Mask of Momentum, I mean, you don't want to let them go first.
Yeah, I would choose to go first because they could set up something in Arsenal that'll be very dangerous. If they don't have Mask for whatever reason, you could go first to set up something for yourself. Or choose to go second to put on the pressure first.
You do have the chance to...
There's just so many arguments. I could make a PowerPoint on why you should go second.
That should be its own video.
The next episode will be the PowerPoint led by Kayla.
I feel like it might be dependent on who you're running yourself on how you choose that. Because I feel like you're kind of screwed one way or the other depending on how... Because you don't know what the Katsu is going to be trying to focus on.
Right.
So until you understand that, the first or second decision is kind of tricky with him.
Unless you're playing Dorinthia, in which case you always want to go second.
Go second.
Yep.
Force that tempo.
Yep.
Or either they're just tanking hits or you're getting tempo.
Like, cool, I'm going to swing with a big sword. Oh, my sword's going to get bigger. Nice.
All right. On that note, any final words for Katsu? Katsu.
Katsu is very
Katsu.
tricky in mastery. He's very easy to throw a bunch of small attacks wide. Not hard. Like, it's a great way to learn about the combat chain by playing him.
Yep.
But mastering, like, ooh, when do I use this Razor Reflex? When do I use this Ancestral Empowerment? When do I not use this Razor Reflex? Those can be the bigger decisions, and that takes practice.
He's an easy to learn, difficult to master hero. Like, yeah, definitely.
A lot of the
Embodies
heroes.
I mean, except Ranger.
You.
Except Ranger. Sad.
Had Ranger noises.
Rangers, Arsenal, pass.
Oh, it was a trap. You didn't attack.
I'm gonna press, shoot. I didn't draw any arrows. Oh no.
All right. Well, now I feel personally attacked. So yeah.
86.
What is it?
We would never the 86.
Uh-huh.
We would never attack.
Never.
All right. But I hope you guys had some good feedback here. Some things you learned about the Katsu. Now I'm saying Katsu. Katsu matchup. Leave some comments down below on what you thought, and yeah, we hope to see you later. Thank you. This has been the 86. We have been Kayla and Wilson. All right. See ya.